Hi, I'm Yonash, and I'll be reading a script today that I wrote. For the sake of time, I'll be both concise and brisk. I've organized this video into these 4 major segments. Full table of contents as well as supplementary links are in the description. I'll be adding annotations like this, so you know which link to look for. You can find OBS at obsproject.com. Choose the option for your corresponding operating system and get downloading. It's fine, it's not a car. When first booting, the Program Quick Start settings windows will pop up. I'll be covering those in the next section, but feel free to select whatever options you see fit. Now that we're in the next section, let's open up those settings, either by clicking the Settings button on the rightmost panel or choosing File Settings from the menu bar. You can change the look of OBS by choosing the theme. Yeah, that'll do. Head over to the Output tab. If you have a graphics card, hardware should be selected by default. Graphics cards are better suited for converting and compressing raw video data into more usable file format, and this will also help reduce the strain on the CPU. Thanks to Relative Fudge 5112, I now know you can record clips from the past, otherwise known as instant replay clips. Scroll to the bottom of the Output tab, and you'll find the option to enable Replay Buffer. Set your maximum replay time, which is both the duration of the clip and also how many seconds of video is held in memory. The option to start replay buffer then appears under Controls. To change where the recorded video is saved to, select Browse and choose the folder. Under the Recording section, OBS defaults to the MKV file format. The advantage of MKV, or
Matroska,
is that in the case of a software crash, your footage is likely still recoverable, while with MP4 it may more likely be corrupted. Thanks Scott Wilcox for the info. Your editing software may not be compatible with MKV, so you can choose an alternative. Videos recorded as MKV can later be converted to MP4 to use with your editing software by clicking File, Remux Recordings. Drag in the file and click Remux. That's simple. Now in the audio section. The default options shouldn't need to be changed, but depends on your microphone. Most likely you'll want to record your desktop audio, or the audio that's playing from your computer. On Windows, the default option should work automatically, but for Mac you'll need to install software. I use Blackhole, that can be found on existential.audio/Blackhole. Soundflower is another option. That is mostly defunct. I recommend setting all other audio devices to disabled, since we'll be adding those as sources later. In the Video tab, you can set your preferred canvas and scaled resolution as well as your common FPS value, if different from defaults. Set canvas or base resolution to the resolution of your monitor, and the scaled or output resolution to what video quality you want to broadcast or record at. Set your preferred frame rate under common FPS values. The fractional FPS value settings allow for functions that aren't that useful or practical, but I'll follow tangents down anyway out of intellectual curiosity. First of which being a time-lapse, which will thankfully require some math. You'll need to decide what period of time you'll be recording for and the duration of the time-lapse. Let's say I want to record the progressive oxidation of an apple slice under a microscope over the period of 4 hours for a 10-second clip at 60 FPS. Multiply the duration of the time-lapse, 10 seconds, by 60 FPS to get the total amount of frames for your time-lapse. The duration of the recording, 4 hours, is 14,400 seconds. Divide the total frames of the time-lapse by the duration of the recorded video and simplify the fraction. Without this post in the OBS forums, I wouldn't know how to do this, so thank you Koala for posting. Time-lapses are generally done better with a digital camera and a remote control shutter release, since in this case the camera will have to continually run. Keep in mind the resulting video will be as long as the video is recorded for and will have to be sped up in post. I use this equation to determine the percent speed value to enter in my editing software. I'll go into further detail in a linked companion video. A colleague informed me of how to stream at 120 frames per second. Incredulously, I felt compelled to investigate further. Entering 120 in the numerator does in fact produce a video at that frame rate, although when streaming these settings on Twitch and enabling video stats, the stream shows 120 FPS. In OBS, the bitrate for Twitch is capped at 6,000. YouTube's max bitrate in OBS is 51,000 kilobits per second, but when testing out 15,000 kilobits per second and looking under stats for nerds, the stream still showed as 1080p at 60 FPS. OBS allows you to enter in 999,999 in the numerator for fractional FPS value. On attempting this, my computer struggled to keep up with demand. The resulting file would not list the frame rate under File Explorer, and realistically you won't need to record at this high of a frame rate anyway. Thus concludes my tangents. Under the Hotkey tab is a satisfactory list of customizable keyboard shortcuts to useful features, including scene change in case something comes up, pause, unpause the recording, or to mute your mic. Moving on to the streaming settings. Under the Stream tab, you can select your streaming service of choice. If you don't find the option you want, continue to Show All. Once selected, you'll be redirected to sign into your account with that service. You can also stream to multiple platforms with third-party solutions like Restream, which has a free plan limited to 2-channel multi-streaming, or the plugin OBS Multi-RTMP. I haven't used either of them, so I'll provide tutorials in the description. If you want to test what kind of bandwidth your setup can handle without going live publicly, enable Bandwidth Test Mode. Once you press the Stream button, it'll show your bitrate, CPU usage, and dropped frames. Your bitrate corresponds with the quality of your video output and is largely bottlenecked by your network speed. Here's YouTube's guide to bitrate, and here's Twitch's to see which values relate to specific qualities. If you're getting dropped frames, or frames that aren't recorded or transmitted, lower your bitrate. After signing into your streaming service, you'll see windows or docs specific to the service you've chosen, if available. Default Twitch docs are the chat doc and stream information doc, where you can change the stream title, category, and tags. Under docs in the menu bar, you can also show Twitch stats or the stats doc to track your stream health. These docs can be kept as separate windows or snapped to the OBS window. Settings are saved under a profile that is found in the taskbar. By default, this is named Untitled, but you can rename it. Profiles allow you to have different setting profiles, so when you have your basic profile, you can duplicate and change only those settings you want to defer. This enables a way to easily change streaming services or resolutions. Profiles can also be exported and imported to other computers. Scenes and sources are central to the functionality of OBS. Sources are what you're trying to record, be it a microphone or your screen, while scenes are typically collections of sources. Scenes are helpful to quickly change between different camera views without mucking about with hiding specific sources. By default, OBS has a scene named Scene. New scenes can be added by clicking the plus button. Add a microphone by clicking the plus under the Sources options, and then Audio Input Capture. Name it for organization purposes and click OK. Choose your microphone from the drop-down window and again click OK. In the audio mixer, you should now see your microphone. If you see the audio level rise when you make a sound, you know it's working. Turn down the volume slider if you notice it's going into the red. Clicking the vertical ellipsis or kebab menu and Advanced Audio Properties, or clicking the conjoined gears button, reveals the options to increase the volume past 100%, as high as 2000%, but don't do that. Enable mono audio, change the balance if not grayed out, adjust sync offset if your audio and webcam aren't in sync. Enable audio monitoring to listen to your own microphone audio and to disable tracks. Add a video capture device if you want to add a webcam or camera. Display capture records your whole monitor screen. Window capture records a specific window. And game capture records a video game running on your computer. Window capture can also be used if you're having trouble with game capture. Browser sources are used for stream elements like on-screen chat. With color source, you choose a color to display. The other source options are mostly self-explanatory. Any sources that show up in the canvas can be freely moved around and resized. If you have multiple video sources, you can change the order of these options. With Transform, you can rotate, flip, fit, or stretch to screen, center, and more finely edit the transform of the video source. To record or stream video from a console, you'll need a capture card. You can also buy an internal capture card. Once you plug in the HDMI cord from your console into HDMI in, connect the USB-A to your computer and HDMI out to your monitor. In OBS, select Add Video Capture Device and select your capture card. If it doesn't show up, you may need Elgato's 4K capture utility. To quickly switch between what console you're wanting to stream, you have the option to purchase a 4x2 HDMI matrix switch. This allows for 4 different console inputs and 2 outputs. One output would connect to your capture card, and the other directly to your monitor. Digital cameras with HDMI output can also be captured using a capture card. Elgato offers one specifically for this purpose. Clicking a source and selecting Properties allows you to select a different source and change settings such as resolution. Selecting certain sources will expose a quick access panel to conveniently open options based on which source is selected, as well as filters and properties. The gear button at the bottom also opens source properties. To make the canvas full screen, right-click, then hover over Fullscreen Projector, and select which monitor you'd like to use. In my case, I wanted a closer look at the minerals in lapis lazuli, which are lazurite, calcite, and specks of pyrite. Press Escape when you're done. By default, OBS has fade and cut as the scene transition options, but more options are available under the plus icon. Stinger allows you to import a custom transition. Here are 2 video tutorials on how to add stingers and 2 options on how to make custom stinger transitions. A basic stream setup consists of title cards, alerts, and overlays, for which I use Stream Elements. I'll link to tutorials on using either Stream Elements or Streamlabs to cover your needs. Now that we have our scene set up, we can add filters. Filters allow you to customize video and audio. Let's start with your webcam. Right-click the source and select Filters. After clicking the plus, the options appear. If you want to change the dimensions of your video to square at your webcam, for example, select Crop Pad under Effect Filters. You can either modify by using the relative option, where you input either positive values that subtract that many pixels from that side, or negative number values that add space. The other option is to give XY coordinates and dimensions. Once a filter is created, it can be hidden at will. Filters on sources will carry over if that source is loaded into another scene in the same scene collection. This is undesirable if you want to use your webcam source with and without a green screen filter. To bypass this, create a new scene and add your source, but apply the filters to the scene. This scene then can be loaded as a source, so you can switch between the two in the same scene. Convoluted, but effective. As to how to apply a green screen effect, select the chroma key option. You can select other colors from the drop-down or enter in a custom color. Thankfully, OBS supplies a guide with definitions. Mostly, I play around with the dials until I get an acceptable result. Other notable video filters include color correction and image mask blend, but I will be linking tutorials for those. When selecting a microphone's filters, you'll be met with a list of specialized words. Compressor reins in the louder sounds, like shouting. You can also enable sidechain ducking source, which lowers the selected audio source's volume when audio plays from the ducking source. Expander removes the lower volume sounds like fans, air purifiers, or the hum of that old gaming PC. Gain increases the volume of your audio, but generally do that on the microphone level, or increase the audio volume in the advanced audio properties, since increasing gain usually introduces audio distortion. This is how OBS explains invert polarity. Limiters should be used by those whose audio frequently peaks. Noise gate works by choosing a threshold decibel value, filtering out lower values. You want to set it a bit above the background noise of your home studio. Noise suppression automatically filters background noise, and I find replaces the need for a noise gate. Upward compressor is similar to compressor, but instead of lowering the volume when you speak louder than normal, it increases the volume in cases where you turn your head away from the microphone. VST is an optional third-party video filter plugin that I went over in this video. Thanks to the OBS Filters Guide for guidance in defining these terms. I try to limit my outright plagiarism to acceptable levels. There may be a case that you want to transfer your sources and scenes to a new computer. This is covered by the Scene Collection option in the taskbar. As the name implies, it is the collection of all your scenes and sources. First, export your collection to an intermediary device like a USB drive. On the other computer, select Import. The files that sources are based on will also have to be transferred. Personally, I had set up collections for general purposes, Ironmon, and Grand Poo World, depending on what I'm planning on doing. As a last tidbit, you can also use OBS as a virtual camera. Once selected, it can be utilized as a video source in other programs such as Discord. Go to your settings on Discord, and go to Voice and Video. Scroll down to Camera, and select OBS Virtual Camera.
That about wraps it up. Thank you for making it through with me. I hope you learned something, because I sure did. It's that... OBS or Open Broadcaster system software. Good software. Ba 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 ba. Bebis. Clicking the vertical ellipsis or kebab menu. That about wraps it up. Thank you for making it through with me. I hope you learned something, because I sure did. Videos are way more rewarding when I actually put effort in. Ba 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 ba.